Hi, today our group would like to present a project-based learning chemistry with the theme of interaction between matter, and for the topic is acid, base and salt. Before we start, let's get to know our group member first, starting with...
Hi, I'm Intan Shazwani.
Hi everyone, my name is Nur Amir Aisha binti Nur Azman and I am from 4 Adioda.
My name is Putri Zahira Amani binti Muhammad Saharuddin and I am from 4 Adioda.
My name is Liana Azika and I'm from 4 Adioda.
Hi, I'm Putri Asmina Izzati from 4 Adioda.
And I am Mona Fatimah Bakis from 4 Adioda.
Now, let's take a look at the aim of our project. The aim of our project is to determine the suitable fertilizers for chili tree, winch bean tree and lemon tree. Next, problem statement. Apart from treating acidic soil, fertilizers need to be added to soil to replace nutrients such as nitrogen, potassium and phosphorus that have been absorbed by plants. There is a variety of fertilizers in the market. Which fertilizers are suitable for plants? Here are the picture of the crops that we use in this project, which is lemon tree, winch bean tree and chili. There are 4 elements required by crops, which is nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium and magnesium. Let's go to the first element, which is nitrogen.
There are 2 fertilizers that we choose because it high in nitrogen content. Firstly, urea. Percentage of nitrogen that we found in urea is 46.6%. How to calculate the percentage of nitrogen in fertilizer? First of all, we need to know their molar mass first. So, molar mass for urea is 60 gram. After that, we need to divide total mass of nitrogen with molar mass and times the total with 100. As stated, we know that mass of nitrogen in urea is 28 gram, so we must divide 28 with 60 and times the total with 100. And percentage of nitrogen that we found in urea is 46.6%. The cost that we need for urea fertilizer is RM4.20 per 1 kilogram. The other fertilizer that high in nitrogen content is ammonium sulfate. So, let's calculate percentage of nitrogen in ammonium sulfate fertilizer. Molar mass for ammonium sulfate NH4,2SO4 is 132 gram. Mass of nitrogen found in ammonium sulfate is 28 gram and we divided 28 with molar mass of ammonium sulfate, which is 132, then times it with 100 and we got 21% of nitrogen. The cost that we need for ammonium sulfate fertilizer is RM2.50 per 100 gram. Quantity of nitrogen needed for crops. The first crop is lemon tree. 350 gram of urea fertilizer were needed for lemon tree, while 198 gram of ammonium sulfate were needed for lemon tree. For the next crop, chili plant. 450 gram of urea fertilizer were needed for chili plant, while 500 gram of ammonium sulfate were needed for chili plant. Lastly, wing beans. 4 gram of urea fertilizer were needed for wing beans, while 6 gram of ammonium sulfate were needed for wing beans. As a conclusion, we choose ammonium sulfate fertilizer for all the crops. This is because this fertilizer is less acidity compared to urea fertilizer. For your information, ammonium sulfate acts to lower the pH balance of the soil and it also dissolves relatively slowly, which makes it cheaper than some other artificial fertilizer.
The first fertilizer for phosphorus is ammonium phosphate. The percentage of phosphorus in ammonium phosphate is 20.81% and the calculation is shown below. The cost for ammonium phosphate is RM6.60 per kilogram. Moving on, the second fertilizer for phosphorus is potassium phosphate. The percentage of phosphorus in potassium phosphate is 22.79% and the calculation is also shown below. The cost for potassium phosphate is RM10 per kilogram. Next is the quantity of ammonium phosphate needed for each plant. For chili, you need 5 pounds per arc. For lemon tree, you need 8 pounds per arc. And lastly, for winch bean, you will also need 5 pounds per arc. Lastly is the quantity of potassium phosphate needed for each plant. For chili, you need 2 to 10 pound per arc. For lemon tree, you need 5 to 10 pound per arc. And finally, for winch bean, you also need 2 to 10 pound per arc. On the whole, I think ammonium phosphate is suitable for each plant. Firstly, this is because it can be applied to existing established plantings that need sulfur, nitrogen and phosphorus. Next, it can also enhance the plant density and color. Lastly, this is because it can be used as a pre-plant fertilizer to prepare the soil.
The third element needed by plants is potassium. One of the potassium-based fertilizers that we picked is potassium sulfate. It has a 44.83% of potassium and it costs 30 ringgit per kilogram. So how we calculate the percentage of potassium in this fertilizer is by, first, we total up the molar mass of the compound, in which we will get 174. And after that, we total up the molecular mass of the potassium in the compound, which is 78. And then finally, we divide 78 with 174, and then we multiply it with 100. The next fertilizer that we picked is potassium nitrate. It has a 38.61% of potassium in it, and it costs 6 ringgit and 50 cents per kilogram. So how we calculate the percentage of potassium in this fertilizer is by, number 1, we total up the molar mass of the compound, in which we get 101. And after that, we find out the molar mass of the potassium in the compound, which is 39, and then finally we divide 39 with 101 and multiply it with 100. So here's the quantity of fertilizer needed for each plant. For chili, we only need 3 pounds per square feet of potassium sulfate and potassium nitrate. For lemon tree, we only need 8 cups per 25 feet of both of the fertilizers. And finally, for winged beans, we only need 1 pound of each fertilizer. To conclude, potassium nitrate is the best fertilizer out of the two. This is because it is cheaper in price, it is non-toxic, and it improves water uptake from soil.
Lastly, we pick magnesium as an element in our fertilizer. There are 2 choices of fertilizer. The first one is magnesium sulfate. The percentage of magnesium in magnesium sulfate is only 20%, and 1 kilogram of magnesium sulfate costs 3 ringgit. Secondly, we have magnesium oxide. Percentage of its magnesium is 60%. This fertilizer costs 6 ringgit 50 cents for 1 kilogram. Next, quantity of fertilizer needed for each plant. Firstly, chili needs 9 grams of magnesium sulfate but needs 200 grams of magnesium oxide. Secondly, amount of magnesium sulfate needed for winged bean is 10 grams. Meanwhile, quantity of magnesium oxide it needs is 215 grams. Thirdly, lemon tree requires 20 grams of magnesium sulfate or 300 grams of magnesium oxide. Finally, we decided to use magnesium sulfate for each crop because it is more affordable, is needed in only small amount, and helps plants grow better compared to magnesium oxide.
For the reflection, first we can understand the topic acid, base and salt better. Study has shown that students tend to learn more when they are taking part in activities. This project is a huge step for us to explore more about the topic other than what we learn in the textbook. Next, we also learn the importance of teamwork and contribution from all members. This value is crucial for students as it will shape them to be a more responsible person. Lastly, we can apply what we learn in this topic in our daily life. As an example, choosing suitable fertilizers for different types of crops. Appreciation. First and foremost, I would like to thank God for providing us with the opportunity to complete this project. Special thanks to Puan Hajah Nurida, the principal of Sri Putri Science Secondary School, for allowing us to do the chemistry project-based learning despite the COVID-19 pandemic in order to improve our learning. We would also like to express our gratitude to Miss Foo Koi Hoon, our chemistry teacher, for all of her help. She has really assisted us in completing this project. We would be clueless if it were not for her. Her generosity will be remembered for a long time. Not to mention our parents, who have always been there for us. We appreciate the time they were willing to sacrifice for us so that we could complete our project. Not only that, but they also assisted us in the preparation of the materials, for which we are grateful. I'd also like to thank each and every one of my teammates. Because of their dedication and contribution, we are able to complete the project on schedule. Each team member contribute to the project and share their ideas. Not to forget our classmate who assisted us in providing the necessary information and knowledge for this project.
That is all from us. Thank you.